So hey everyone, it's Stephen here. This icon behind me is an Orthodox icon. It's of Cassia the Hymnographer. There's a beautiful service on Wednesday of Pascha week, of Easter week, in the and in that service, the liturgy, Cassia wrote an important piece that's been used in it for, I don't know, 500 or 600 years now. So it's very beautiful. So anyway, that's probably the single thing she's known the best for. But anyway, when my mother was a painter, was a fine arts painter, and the first time I walked into an Orthodox church and I saw lots of icons like this. I had seen icons before, I'm sure, but never sort of in person, right? And never when I was going to this church particularly to see what was going on. So when I walk in and see all these icons in this very flat perspective, right? It's not really a three-dimensional perspective. It's got this flat quality to it. And my mother had tried to teach me painting, and I do some painting. But I know about perspective, and in paintings like this, I can very much understand what the artist is getting at. And part of the reason they're painting in this two-dimensional fashion is because the perspective is from the person in the painting to you. So they're looking at you. You are the three-dimensional object from their point of view in their painting. So if you can imagine, if you can get your head around that idea that Cassia is, it's not so much that you see her, it's that she sees you. And it goes to an idea that, we in holography, right? We think of holograms are generally, we think of them as like a three-dimensional object that's generated from two-dimensional pictures. So you take a couple of two-dimensional pictures and you put them on opposite sides of a space and you project them towards each other, and you can create this 3D image within the space. So holograms are always generated from lower dimensional, from a lower dimensionality into a higher dimensionality. And there's an idea in physics that because of the way information accumulates on the surface, on the surface of black holes, on the event horizon of black holes, there's this big information problem. Where does all the information go that goes into a black hole? And that Stephen Hawking idea that it accumulates on the surface, because you can't destroy information. At least that's the basic physical theory, or physical law, I suppose. So it accumulates on the surface. So if you think of the beginning of the universe, and this idea that it comes from a very small space and then expands, we're in this expanding universe, and it begins at this very small quantum object, and through the thing called the Big Bang, expands out into this the universe that we see today. So there's an expanding shell, right, of the outside of the universe, or the end of the universe, so to speak. The furthest point is this expanding shell, and so there's this idea that if there's information, the information from that state at the beginning of the universe is contained on that shell, and that the shell, opposite ends of the shell, project into the space that we occupy inside of those edges, and produce our three-dimensionality, right? So that just as a hologram is projected into a space that we control from two pictures, from two-dimensional objects, you can think of the universe is the same way, as it's a giant hologram projected by the information stored on the leading edge of the expanding universe into the entire interior space of the universe. It all sounds very fantastical, right? But it's good math, and it does explanations that are hard to come at in other ways. And I why not? Why not? And the idea that that in this church there's these flat, two-dimensional icons that are projecting into a space, and that they're effectively looking at you as a three-dimensional object. Really gives this sort of idea of a hologram, that you are the hologram that the icon is observing. So, it's you kind of reverse the way we don't generate the icon. We don't generate the hologram. The icons are generating us, or that the universe, or that God is generating us, and the icon is observing observing you as a hologram, basically, for their point of view, which is with God on the expanding shell of the universe. It seems very out there, so to speak, but it would explain a lot, I think, and it would explain a lot of things, and certainly explains things in physics. But I think even particularly in an Orthodox church, or if you just in general, the way we look at a two-dimensional picture, and we find a lot of meaning in it. But what if the true meaning is that we rely on, or we somehow know that that we're the hologram, that flat surface is observing, instead of we're observing it, it's observing us. That sort of relationality as the basis of being, I think, is that who is it? The guy Wolfram, right? Wolfram is another mathematical oriented physicist, I would say, or a mathematician trying to explain the creation of the universe through a purely mathematical model. And I think Wolfram's current model posits that there really are no dimensions. There's only relationality. That the dimensionality is an illusion, sort of like a holographic illusion. If you have a hologram, that you have two projectors generating a hologram in front of you, it's a relationality of the being of the two projectors into your space. But what is the idea of distance, like in that hologram? What's the idea of the distance between one hand of, say, a holographic person, and the other hand? What is the distance between the two? It's not really definable. It's a relationship between those two-dimensional pictures. So going in an Orthodox church and seeing this kind of icon on the wall, and seeing all that, and myself having had a kind of like a sciencey background, right, and a lot of my brother and my father, both physicists, and so I have a lot of this sort of these physicists' idea, this physical universe exploration that I've been doing all my life, and how when you take it down to this level, and just you invert it, you turn it upside down, you turn it from a dimensional thing into a relational thing, right, and suddenly you see yourself as a hologram generated by God on the expanding shell of the universe, and how does that fit into everything else? Well, I don't still working on that, but I don't know that I see a big problem anymore. It's the details, a lot of details. Anyway, that's it for today.